And hello, welcome to Open, the show opening the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up, we'll learn about a challenge that's aiming to uplift businesses in the Bronx, which have historically faced some challenges when it comes to accessing capital. The next, we'll discuss the importance of gut health, the similarities between endangered ecosystems and the human gut microbiome. We'll break it down for you. Following that, we'll spotlight a school that's integrating New York City's resources and rich history into their curriculum to address some real-world issues with their students. And then later on, we're going to talk about hair loss and hair thinning. What can you do to fix or possibly reduce it? We'll give you more later on in the show. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. Hello, everyone. I am Daren Jaime, and you're now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channels. You can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Some things have been going on through the course of the past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. We kick off with city news. New York City Mayor Eric Adams announces evictions will not stop for asylum seekers who've reached the city's controversial 30-day shelter limit. Mayor Adams stated New York City continues to face an influx of over 1,000 migrants each week, necessitating tough decisions to avoid exhausting space and resources. Now, the city plans to evict approximately 200 immigrants who've exceeded the 30-day deadline without qualifying for exceptions. Now, this limit applies to adult migrants, while families have a 60-day timeline. In other news, New York City lawmakers have enacted a new bill aimed at preventing trash accumulation on sidewalks and in front of businesses. The legislation grants the Department of Sanitation the power to impose fines on those repeat offenders who violate cleanliness regulations for public spaces outside commercial properties. The law applies across all 5 boroughs of the city. Penalties have been structured with increasing severity. First-time offenders, a fine of $50. A second offense incurs a $300 fine, and continued violations within a 12-month period will result in a $500 fine. In crime news, New York City is integrating drones into its first responder network. According to the NYPD's Chief of Operations, Kaz Doherty, drones will soon join officers responding to 911 calls across 5 precincts, including one right here serving in the Bronx. The plan mentioned that the NYPD will retrofit the roofs on 5 precincts in Brooklyn and the Bronx, as well as Central Park, to accommodate 2 drone platforms each. The drones will provide real-time information to officers on the ground, and the initiative is the latest to Mayor Eric Adams' drone projects, reflecting his enthusiasm for technology despite concerns raised by various quarters. A 2022 study by the New York City Civil Liberties Union actually highlighted the lack of regulation surrounding the NYPD drone operations, expressing apprehension about potential privacy infringements. Well, that is all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We are taking a quick break, but guess what? We got more Open when we return.
I remember when the Bronx did not really have a media outlet properly representing the people of the Bronx.
BronxNet provides for the community by being a community where people can be empowered to share their voices.
We are in a really great place technologically. We've got all the resources that we need to be effective.
Whether it's through cameras, storytelling, editing, we have provided those services for 30 years.
BronxNet's mission is to be a voice for the community.
To educate, to inform, and to inspire.
And you can be a part of it. We've built studios for you.
And we are back. The Bronx Economic Development Corporation recently concluded its inaugural BX Factor 10K Small Business Challenge. And the event showcases the creativity and dedication of Bronx entrepreneurs while highlighting their support for the local small business community. Joining me now is the Director of Outreach at the Bronx Economic Development Corporation, Marshall Strawbridge. And then we've got the Creative Director and founder of Gomez Design Studio, Tiffany Gomez, and they both join us right now. And Marshall, good to have you.
Thanks for having me on, Daren. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. It's an exciting time in the way of getting to see local creatives and entrepreneurs really take a step up.
Absolutely. The impetus for doing something like this really comes out of our mandate from the Bronx Borough President to make the Bronx an exciting and welcoming place for small businesses and to promote it as such. And so what we've done with this is created a platform where we can, one, deliver resources to our small businesses, but also in partnership with the New York Yankees and Santander, give us a platform and to share the stories of some of the most exciting entrepreneurs we have in our borough.
Talk to me a little bit about this, Tiffany.
Well, sorry.
Take your time. Well, I say, the partnership obviously is good, it exists, but talk about the benefit, do you feel, first of all, for a local business?
Well, it's an honor to stay in the Bronx and have my business be based in the Bronx. I am a Bronx native, so I have always wanted to stay here and stay rooted here, not just for myself, but for my community as well. And it's been an honor to be partnering with BX EDC to grow my business and do more things in the community.
And when we talk about growing businesses, obviously that's what we want to see. A small business is definitely the lifeblood of America right now. If we don't have small businesses and entrepreneurs, we're in some serious trouble. But here, obviously, a lot of the footprint is really on making small businesses sustainable and then also accessible to the community.
That's right. You said it best. The small businesses are really the backbone of our economy. They've really been the driving force behind our borough's recovery. It's been evidenced by the report that came out of the State Comptroller's Office, and it's something that we really look to build off of and use the BX Factor as a way to celebrate.
So Tiffany, you take your business, you make this pitch, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're out there pitching and hoping that the pitch catches, mm-hmm. right? Yes. So give me your thoughts about how nervous you were making this pitch, knowing what's at stake, and then finding yourself here.
Well, I'm definitely very nervous. I had never pitched anything, especially in front of such a large group before. But I really wanted to just stay true to what it was that I believed for my business, and talking a lot about the ability to connect with women specifically in the borough. About 90% of my clientele is women, so I wanted to really address some of the needs that women have shared with me over the years, that they don't really have an outlet to create. There's limited resources for them to kind of get their hands dirty and explore this specific trade. So it was really important for me to touch on that.
Yeah. When we talk about a woman such as Tiffany, obviously it rises to the top that her work is out there and she's got an extra push based on this. A lot of people don't get that push, and there are a lot of challenges that we see with Bronx businesses. For viewers, what are some of those challenges that maybe we're not paying attention to that we should know about?
I would say the challenge that BXCDC is laser focused on addressing is delivering resources to small businesses in the form of capital access. That is our bread and butter. That's our focus right now. A number of our businesses here are, for one reason or another, not lendable through traditional financial institutions, and so the core of our mission is to deliver resources to those businesses to fill in the gaps between where there's a need here in our borough that's not being met by our traditional financial institutions. And so this grant is one example of that, but a number of our lending programs dedicated to small businesses are also a part of us filling that gap that exists for small businesses.
So Tiffany, you scored a win here. Talk to me about what does this mean for you for the future? Obviously, optimistic in terms of making the pitch, but then for the business itself, being a recipient as a grant winner, what else does it mean for you?
This is a big deal for me, and I really want to look at all the new ways that I can grow the business through new marketing tactics, also expanding space so that there is an opportunity for me to share my space with women and even kids in the Bronx for workshops and things of that nature. Starting an internship program and an apprenticeship program, so the funds have a lot of different ways to be used.
Yeah. What advice do you have for small business owners who may be out there struggling and, trying to turn the corner, but here you are as a great example?
I think it's really important for business owners, especially new business owners, to just keep going. It can be really discouraging in the beginning. There's so many things that can work against you, but to just keep going and trying to find a way to move forward and grow and pivot if ever there's a situation that is not working in your favor.
Do you ever sit back and say, you got great examples such as Tiffany, there are 4 other recipients, I believe, that you also had, that won, but that so many talented people out there that unfortunately don't always get the exposure, right?
Daren, we had over 100 applications for this grant. It was a really tough decision getting down to the 5, and it was an even tougher decision choosing a winner. And I think that's just evident of the number of great businesses we have here in the Bronx. The BX Factor is here to stay, no question about that. And my focus over the next year is going to be to make this bigger so that we can, one, deliver more resources to the cohort next year, but also be able to touch more of the businesses that we received applications from.
So what's that feeling like, knowing you got 100 people out there that you're going up against? What's that?
It's a really good feeling, and it just kind of made me feel better about what I'm working towards. So sometimes, you feel like maybe you're not headed in the right direction, but this really kind of drilled it in that I'm...
She's speaking on that because I think the confidence factor is also something that has to be taken into effect, right? That when you have, someone who's a recipient and now they've gone up against 100 businesses and now yet and still they find themselves at the top, there's a level of confidence that you now have to say, okay, well, maybe I now plateau and go to another level. Yes, no, maybe so?
Yes, of course.
Okay, yeah.
That's right. So one, it was successful in that we were able to deliver resources to each of the businesses that participated. But I also want to highlight that each of the businesses that we featured at the event walked away with connections with other business leaders here in the Bronx, with other avenues to be able to grow their business and enhance their abilities as entrepreneurs. And so it gets back to the point about, one, it's delivering resources, but we also want to give a platform to some of our entrepreneurs and connect them to resources outside of the financial awards that we were providing.
For people who don't know about your design studio, take us inside.
Okay, well, Gomez Design Studio has been around for about 7 years now, and I do custom furniture and architectural installations using only construction waste lumber. So everything that would have been sent to landfill, I try to take in as much as I possibly can as a sole business owner, and I just rework those pieces.
Wow. And so 7 years you've been doing?
7.
So to get to this point right now, 7 years later, and say, wow, I'm a recipient of this award, there had to be a time when you said, am I really doing the right thing here?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time, yes. There's definitely a lot of like imposter syndrome and difficulties in growing a business, especially a creative business, that tends to fluctuate so much. So a lot of artists tend to have trouble here, but I kept going.
And so how much does like a win such as this put that to bed when you talk about imposter syndrome and that? The fact is, you can do this.
It's really a confidence booster, like you said, and it now puts me in a position of a bigger responsibility because after pitching this and wanting to really engage with my community, now I know that this is something that I have to continue doing.
Yeah. What's the responses you get from entrepreneurs who have actually taken part in this and maybe they did come up short? I mean, was there a hunger to say, let's do this again, let's go after this?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So we get a lot of excitement around doing grants in addition to the loans that we do. Grants are obviously better than loans, and so there's a lot of excitement around that. But yeah, the engagement that we got from the small businesses throughout the borough really indicated this is a hit, and it's something that we want to keep doing in the future.
So for the ones who didn't make it, is there a conversation about maybe try again next year, other than try again next year, I should say? Is there more about this is what we're looking for, or how does that work?
So all of the businesses who applied are welcome to apply for the small business, the capital access programs that we have available, and we will continue to work to try and deliver other resources to businesses in the borough.
How difficult has it been, given the fact of this economy, and we're talking about small businesses right here in the borough? What are you seeing?
I'm seeing, for one I named earlier, the lack of capital access coming out of the pandemic. Many of the businesses were not able to participate in some of the publicly funded lending programs that were available to small businesses. I'd say another major area is access to leasing. We see a lot of real estate speculation in the borough and rising costs of space, and so access to lease agreements or lease agreements that are actually beneficial to businesses are hard to come by. It's an area where it's putting a lot of businesses in a tough spot.
How frustrating for you, given the fact that we see spaces out there for people, but rent is high, and then you talk about the access to resources, and banks are requiring more and more things from, sometimes small businesses, and this could be like, a mountain for somebody to really climb over just to be able to say, I want to do my business.
It's really challenging, especially the cost of rent for studio space. I've been put in a position where I've had to share space, which is very difficult, especially when I'm creating large pieces. It becomes a problem, but the prices are just really challenging, especially for the square footage that I need. So hopefully things get better.
Yes, we're hoping that things get better, but we continue to follow you, Tiffany. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
As always, good to have you again.
Thank you.
And certainly we want to tell people, if you want more information, visit the website, bxedc.org. And of course, if you want to follow Tiffany, go to gomezdesignstudio.com. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We have more open coming up right after this.
Congratulations, BronxNet, on your 30th anniversary. Bronx Best is my show, and I had a great experience being able to bring my story to the Bronx Network. It's really changed my life, and I look forward to growing with the network, and I think that it's a wonderful place to grow and learn, and I think that everyone should take advantage of all the wonderful programs and things that go on here.
Thank you, BronxNet. Congratulations on 30 years. What an amazing accomplishment. On behalf of myself, Alina Dow, and I represent the Dow Twins and the Dow Twins Show, who are young producers. They are They started, I think, when they were 11, and now they're 14. They started making 30-second little fun facts, and now they are doing 30-minute shows. And it goes to a testament of how much you guys do in the Bronx to make young people want to continue to be involved. I wish you 30 more amazing years and beyond. Thank you for what you do.
Hey, creative family. My name is Timothy Coleman, and I'm the Director of Education here at BronxNet. And I'm standing in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx because I want to let you know about an amazing program that we're bringing back that highlights the creativity of community members just like you. Emerging Media Makers is a show that introduces you to BronxNet's certified producers. They've taken a step in their creative journey by enrolling in BronxNet's media training classes. On this show, you'll get to see the many ways that our certified producers have created a space that's all their own. Emerging Media Makers, your passion lives here.
Welcome back. There's a new campaign from Cultural Probiotics and Global Conservation Not-for-Profit. Wild is highlighting the similarities between endangered ecosystems on Earth and endangered ecosystem within the human gut microbiome. And here now, sharing more, we got the Vice President of Communications Marketing at Rewild, Robert D. Moore, and we thank you, Dr. Moore, for coming and being with us today.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So thank you. And when we talk a little bit about protecting biodiversity, there's an importance, I feel, and there's an importance about protecting them within the ecosystems. Can you share with us a little bit about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Biodiversity is the fabric of life on our planet. It's what keeps ecosystems ticking. And Earth's ecosystems are what sustain us. So they're our first line of defense against emerging disease, climate chaos, and they provide us everything from clean water, air, food, medicines. So they're essential, to our survival. But research shows that populations of wildlife have declined by almost 70% since 1970. And this loss of biodiversity can have significant impact on the ecosystem. It disrupts the ecosystem's ability to function. So at Rewild, we believe that healthy people need a healthy planet. So that's why protecting and restoring the fabric of life on our only shared home is at the heart of everything that we do.
For someone who may not be so familiar about the ecosystem, can you break that down for us? How important is it and what exactly is it?
Yeah, so our internal ecosystem, there are striking similarities. So when Cultural Probiotics approached us a couple of months ago, we noticed some really interesting parallels between the ecosystems of our world and the ecosystems within. So the gut microbiome is made up of trillions of living, breathing bacteria and is also facing a loss of biodiversity. So data shows it's lost nearly half of its microbial diversity over the last 70 years. So we'll see a lot of similarities between ecosystems like the Amazon rainforest, the coral reefs, and the gut itself, which is an ecosystem at risk. So Rewild, we often say that rewilding the world starts with rewilding ourselves and really recognizing we're not separate from nature, we are a part of nature.
And so for us who are out there right now, what can we do to better serve, better protect?
Yeah, so we've teamed up with Cultural Probiotics on to help draw attention to the similarities between the ecosystems at risk, ecosystems outside, ecosystems within. And I think the first step is sort of understanding, biodiversity, what it is, its influence. And through this campaign, people can find out more information about what they can do. We have a website, protectthegut.com. So if people want more information about steps they can take, that information is on that website.
As we talk about microbiome and the gut microbiome campaign, obviously very important. Talk a little bit about the background as to what led into this and how we are here today.
Yeah, so the campaign is essentially Rewild teamed up with Cultural Probiotics, recognizing the parallels. And, just like so many of Earth's biomes, the forests, the oceans, the grasslands, the human gut microbiome is vulnerable. And similar to the ecosystems of our world that Rewild works to protect and restore, the gut is faced with a barrage of threats to its biodiversity. So really, together, we teamed up to use the Protect the Gut Microbiome campaign to raise awareness of the importance of protecting biodiversity in all ecosystems, both inside and out, because essentially we must take care of ourselves to take care of the planet.
Share with me a little bit about the awareness, because as you're on this awareness campaign and making the public more aware, certainly I'm learning, and I think most people will say that they have the opportunity to learn a little bit more. From your perspective, give me a little bit about the awareness campaign. When you talk about this, as you're sharing this, what's the public feedback? Are they receptive? Are they like, first time I'm hearing about this? What are you getting?
I mean, this specific campaign we're just launching, but Rewild has been in sort of the business of protecting and restoring the wild for many years. I've been doing this for decades. I think biodiversity is a big, complex, nebulous issue, and I think, but people are starting to become aware of the importance of it. I think we are starting to see the repercussions of what happens when our ecosystems are degraded and depleted of biodiversity. There's a high risk of infectious outbreaks like pandemics. We see increase of threat of harm from catastrophic weather events, floods, hurricanes, which of course are exacerbated by a loss of biodiversity and our ecosystems. So I think people are starting to connect the dots, and I think at Rewild, we're really focused on breaking it down to make it accessible for people, because we know the solutions, and we've seen what happens when you not only halt the destruction of an ecosystem, but when you actually restore its biodiversity, and we have seen that ecosystems can recover and be restored. So, I think just connecting with the biodiversity around us and within us, understanding it and taking steps to protect and restore it is something that everybody can do in their everyday lives.
Yeah. There's some people said that ecosystems could not be restored, but here you are saying, yes, it can be restored. Can you share a little bit more about the restoration effort and the positive effect of that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen with my own eyes what happens when you restore an ecosystem. We're working a lot in Haiti, for example, that's got less than 1% of its original forest standing. We are working with local partners there who are restoring magnolia trees to an area around the buffer forest. And what we see is that the soil was being eroded, had nothing holding it together, is suddenly becoming healthier. The trees are acting as a buffer, they're stopping erosion. And the people living in these areas in which are protected and restored are better off. They have clean water, they have more food security. So yeah, I've seen with my own eyes that we can actually restore areas. I've been to islands that have been were completely degraded, lunar landscapes, and are now sort of lush oases of life. So absolutely, we can turn it around. Nature, biodiversity can be resilient. We just have to give it a chance.
Yeah. And when we neglect the critical ecosystems that are out there, talk to me a little bit about those consequences again. What are some of the consequences we have there?
Yeah, it's, where I'd say biodiversity is sort of the buffer that protects us. It's the immune system of the planet. So when we lose it and when we degrade ecosystems, we are at higher risk of infectious outbreaks of disease. We are at risk of these catastrophic weather events. I spoke about restoration in Haiti. I think it's a stark example of many areas that have been completely denuded of biodiversity. And what you get is just, you have no protection. The soil becomes unusable. You can't grow things. So, I think the repercussions of losing biodiversity, of losing our ecosystems are starting to be felt, I think, more and more by people around the world who are sort of on the front lines of that that kind of change.
Yeah. Well, certainly we want to thank you for taking the time and sharing with us, Dr. Moore, and we appreciate it. But before we go, I got to ask you the question. If somebody's out there, where do they get more information?
Yeah, so to learn more about the campaign, you can go to protectthegut.com.
Certainly, go to protectthegut.com. Dr. Robert Moore, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate having you talking about some very critical things to ecosystems, and certainly enjoyed the conversation. Thanks a lot.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
All righty. We want our viewers to know, please don't go anywhere. We got more Open coming up right after this.
Without BronxNet, I don't know how we'd be able to showcase the important and amazing talents that we have here at the Bronx. We've been able to feature lots of great artists, performers, people who deal with coffee and small entrepreneurship businesses, discuss controversial topics, and also be able to share the voice of residents that might not normally have access without a place like BronxNet.
Check your pulse and turn off your phone. Get ready to be entertained. The Bronx Edulution is back, and we've got more youth voices, educational partnerships, exciting global discoveries with Alexi Gingertopoulos, dollar store science experiments with Dr. Whitey Black, and tons of ways for you to engage with us as we bring laughter and knowledge right to your doorstep. Me and the crew welcome you to Season 3 of the Bronx Edulution. The new season of the Bronx Edulution is here. Every Monday at 4:30 p.m. on Channel 67 Optimum, 2133 Fios.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city, and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak, and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
We are back. The Bronx Collaborative High School students are on a mission, armed with New York City's abundant resources and a passion for uncovering real-world challenges. At BXCHS, learning is not confined to textbooks and lectures. It's actually an immersive experience. Students delve into technology, multimedia, honing their skills, and mastering the art of critical evaluation. Joining us now, a special education teacher at Bronx Collaborative High School. We got Erykeffany, Jimenez, and then we've also got the founding principal, Dr. Schneider. And thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
You know, I wish I had this going up. You know, it sounds like school is really, really fun, and at the same time, an opportunity for some real active engagement.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we really are passionate about the fact that it's a family, and a family that's trying to learn together. Right. Students are academic detectives. We create opportunities for them to learn and induce a lot of ideas while they're investigating things, and not be led to conclusions we want them to lead to, but to be critical thinkers, to take leadership roles, not tomorrow, but today while they're still in high school.
Right. And Dr. Brett, you'd have to admit that some of it's a little bit out of the box. It's not as traditional as what we would see in normal school.
Yeah, super out of the box. And that's part of the goal. I mean, I think, you know, public education can thrive, and part of what we're about is proving that you can have high quality experiences in a public high school by choosing some of the best teachers that are really engaged with what they do, and having a close-knit family, alumni, current students. We're proud of the fact that members of the class of 2017 have come back now as teachers, as our parent coordinator, and so we really have this circle of Bronx students leading next generation of Bronx students together. A bunch of us grew up in the Bronx and really wanted this when we were in high school and didn't have it.
I see Erykeffany over there shaking her head.
No, absolutely. When we see even the world of education transitioning from standardized testing and what used to be traditional education, because we have removed the weight from all these assessments that really were not able to show what a student learned or not.
Right.
And we also can't confuse, as you mentioned, that it's fun, but also there is rigor. And as a special education teacher, one of the things that I love about Bronx Collaborative is that we are able to adapt to diverse learning needs, but also maintain the rigor and the same access to career and college opportunities, so that it doesn't matter how you learn, you can still succeed.
Right. So for yourself, how do you change your methods to really reach students?
It just depends on what they need, right? Some students are more visual. Some students need more executive functioning skills that are able to just help them succeed. So we just meet them where they're at, because I could definitely say that in Bronx Collaborative, what we want to ensure is that every student just feels seen and valued and heard, and we just want to make sure that it's not, we don't fit them all into one group, one box. It's just like, what works for you, let's adapt for you, and let's make sure that you know how to succeed when you leave us also, so that you know what you need and advocate for your own needs.
Big thing for a lot of students is extracurricular activities, athletics. Talk to me about that at school.
Sure. Well, with us, you get this great combo because we're on a shared campus. So we have over 30 sports teams. We have a pool and a football field, baseball field, etc. So you get the big school experience, but with a small school level of attention, because we keep ourselves under 500, and so you have a really close-knit family of teachers and students who the teachers themselves have about 30 extracurricular clubs that are wide-ranging, from martial arts to chess. Our team just went to nationals, 4th place at nationals. So you get like this really cool experience that sort of much like on television, right? Like when you think of like what's a fun TV high school kind of vibe, it's like we are able to bring together that warm feeling, like there's a small cast of characters, but a big feel. And so that's like kind of a beautiful thing, because often schools sometimes end up cramped in places, and for us it's spacious, it's warm, and you get sort of the best of everything.
Absolutely.
Erykeffany, give me a little bit about your students when you talk about the embrace of having this new methodology, right? Having this new form of learning. And from your perspective, obviously as a teacher, you do a great job of wrapping around, right, and putting your hands around them. But for them, on the other side, the receptivity and saying, hey, the buy-in, we'll use the word the buy-in.
Absolutely, and I think the proof is in seeing how families continue to bring their children to us, because their students and their children are able to relay back to them of the support that they receive at Bronx Collab. They're able to just explain and I guess promote even the experience, right? If parents didn't feel supported, if families didn't feel supported, we wouldn't have 4 siblings we've had at a time of the same family, coming to us in order to do that. And receptivity, like I have students that graduated 5-7 years ago that still text me for Mother's Day, that still say, like, Ms. J, it was good to have you, and it was good to have the support that you received. And that's not only what you get with me in Bronx Collab, that's what you get with every teacher there. We take our recruitment also and our hiring very seriously to ensure that it is diverse, that they are about the children, that is focused on student learning and student needs. We have different races, different religions, different cultures represented, so that also these students are able to see themselves in the classroom and feel empowered by that.
Yeah, Dr. Brett, when you talk about students coming back, and so there's some I should say students who graduate from school never want to reach back to a teacher. I'm done, I'm out. But you have this family and this cohort that seems to like continue to. So for you, if I had to ask, what's the secret sauce? What would you describe as the secret sauce for Bronx Collab?
I mean, I appreciate you asking that. I think the real simple sauce is treating students like human beings. The dignity piece cannot be replaced or replicated. Students know that they have absolute access and privilege. With me, I will give them everything that I have as part of a resource to support them as they grow. And students can sense when their teachers love them, when their administration loves them, when it's a family atmosphere. I've heard principals share, once the moment kids are graduated, they're done with them. I've heard people use that phrase, and it breaks my heart, because I don't see how you could totally educate people well without being part of the same family, the same community as them. I grew up in the Bronx. Like, to me, anything that I have is by the grace of what people shared with me. And so, people like once asked, like, oh, do you want your students calling you Dr. Schneider? I'm like, personally, I don't care, but I want them to know that just like as a kid from the Bronx, I could go and get a doctorate and learn and become a community leader, they can too, and that we already see them that way. I start by saying to parents and students, you're a public intellectual. Our goal is just to give you the skills and support to have the best practices so that you can walk anywhere in this world and express yourself and be heard.
Yeah. Now, should I say Miss J, Erykeffany? Was
My students call me Miss J.
Okay.
As you could see, is probably struggle with my first name, but whatever feels comfortable.
No, we'll say with Erykeffany.
Okay.
Miss J.
You're doing pretty well.
I'm doing good, right?
We were actually here 6 years ago, and there was a struggle with my name.
Well, look, I
I'm
come
happy.
for redemption. Right, there it is. Listen, exposure. Honestly, what I think that the bottom line is when we talk about what goes on is that your students get a level of exposure that really is a difference maker, right? That allows them the opportunity to have college readiness, that allows them non-traditional methods. And these things are really starting to make a difference when we see the turnaround in, test scores and in attendance and the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. So, and speaking about exposure, we want to also speak about our new opportunities that we have in Bronx Collaborative. We have a new teacher and social work training track where they are able to take education courses and social work courses in public policy, teaching methods, and they're able to delve into that realm with internship opportunities, working with real organizations, and all that helps them in building their capacity, right? In building and identifying what they're able to do. What was the other thing that we were
part of the city? The city has recognized us as one of the schools in the Future Ready program. So those two tracks that Ms. J just mentioned lead to pre-certification, graduating high school, ready to work in your first job in social work or teaching, and collaborations to try to make the undergrad and graduate process as free as possible and as closely connected where you started everything in high school, and that you can confidently have a balance of working and getting a higher education.
So going from being the founding principal to now seeing where you are today, what's that feeling like, seeing the fact that, I know there had to be this question mark as to how's this going to work out, but now to be here today.
It's amazing. I mean, last week when we had to celebrate the new decision day, we had some of our alumni come in, and seeing the members of the class of 2017 who have now finished grad school, going from some students who are very sweet and young and mild-mannered, now grown up with their spouses and their tattoos and their own building of a family life, and thinking about almost it hits you deep, yeah, because it's you see somebody who came in as a 14-year-old trying to figure out what they wanted to do, maybe dealing with some traumas to overcome, and then you see somebody thriving right in their mid-20s and telling you what their vision is in just casual ways. Right. We have multiple students that went into nursing, for example. One was talking about becoming a nurse practitioner. Somebody else, when we were saying, are you going to do that? And they're like, no, I want to go into durable medical equipment. That's where the money. It's adorable watching fully grown adults come out of
This year we actually had a student graduate from Johns Hopkins to be a diplomat.
Really?
And so we just see just the fruits of of what we put into our students and how we support them, and it's a wonderful feeling.
So someone out there's okay, you sold me. How do I get in now?
So really, it's just about applying. The high school admissions app lets people list 12 schools, putting us at the top of your list, right?
Raises your
chances, right?
Yeah,
Right.
And so that's for people applying in future years. We also have made space on our current wait list because we've added new programs. The Department of Ed supported us with the Future Ready. They've also approved us for the unique virtual learning space so that we can conduct night and evening classes online in addition to our day classes for students that have attendance issues. So really, people can just go on to the high school applications website, put us on a current wait list if they want to join us in September, or if they're thinking about joining us in September of 2025, they will be visiting middle schools for the next few months, and they can list us in December of 24. So
and
either now or
that would be
later.
My School's website, where they would also add us to their application.
Awesome. Dr. Brett, great to have you.
Thank you so much.
Ms. J, thank you so much.
Pleasure is mine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, listen, if you want more information, go ahead, visit the website, bxchs.org, and we encourage you. Check it out. Don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
Only 57% of New York City high school students are college ready by their senior year. "55% of high school graduates either have no plans to attend college or are uncertain that they will ever attend. "34% of young adults don't go to college because they can't afford it. Discover what's possible. BronxNet's education programs, internships, and opportunities help engage and inspire Bronx youth and beyond to pursue their passions. Be a part of the BronxNet family. Whether you're interested in our shows, joining a class, or donating to support our mission, visit BronxNet.org to learn more.
Hey everyone, it's your girl Kat from the Kitty Rose Lifestyle, also from The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray every week right here at BronxNet, Saturdays at 11 p.m. Wow, 30 years. 30 years of BronxNet public access television. I'm a girl from Brooklyn and came to the Bronx 25 years ago, started my journey on BronxNet on public access television in 2016, and BronxNet is where I got my start. BronxNet, I feel like, is a home away from home. They support all of my endeavors, and I wouldn't have been able to be on any of the other channels if it wasn't for the fundamentals that I learned right here at my start here at BronxNet. So I am so appreciative. My son says I should stop telling people I'm from Brooklyn because I've been here now, Bronx Strong, for 22 years. So I'm so grateful, and I wish you much success in 30 years, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30 more, because public access is necessary so that people like myself can have a voice. Yes, BronxNet, it's your girl Kat from Kitty Rose. Check me out every Saturday at 11 p.m. right here, Channel 68, The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray. Mwah.
And we are back. Hair isn't an emotional issue, more so when you think you're losing it or you think you might be losing it. And there's always a reason for hair loss and hair thinning, and often there is something you can do to fix or reduce it. Our next guest is a specialist dedicating her career to helping individuals experience hair and scalp issues. Joining us now is the brand president and consultant trichologist at Philip Kingsley, Anabel Kingsley. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Daren.
Anabel, let me ask the question. When we talk about men and women, you know, I know for women it is definitely a big issue, and a lot of women talk about hair loss, but then we also have men, and we can be very, in the lead I said very, very emotional, and that's mildly putting it when it comes to hair loss. But when we look at men and women, can you give us a little comparison as to who's experiencing hair loss more?
Such a great question. So it's a really common misconception that hair loss is confined to men or doesn't happen frequently in women, when in fact hair loss is just as common in women as it is in men. So there are many different types of hair loss. The two most common are male and female pattern hair loss. That's when you see a gradual reduction in volume of hairs over the top of your scalp. And that's genetic. And then you have a hair loss called telogen effluvium. And this is the type of hair loss when you see more hairs coming out on a daily basis. So when you shampoo, when you brush your hair, perhaps on your clothes, floor, and pillow. And this type of hair loss is actually more common in women than it is in men, because it's a reactive type of hair loss caused by things that affect women more frequently. So things like iron deficiency or an improper diet, and also things like the postpartum period and menopause.
You talked about some of the ways that people experience hair loss. One of the ways that I've heard, you can help me out, clarify this for me, is when you wear caps. I hear guys say, oh, you should wear caps because the more you wear caps, the more you're going to lose your hair. Talk to me about the myth or the reality about wearing caps and hair loss.
So that's a myth. So if you like wearing caps, go ahead and keep wearing it. If a hat were to be tight enough to actually cause hair loss, it would be so tight that you would pass out before it had an impact on your hair growth cycle. I suppose if you're wearing a really kind of scratchy hat or it has a lot of embellishments on it, it could potentially cause some breakage. But from a hair loss perspective, you're safe to wear them.
Thank you for clearing that up. I got some people I need to call and tell them, and they're not telling me the truth and telling them. I mean, I don't always wear them, but what I do, I've heard this before, so I'm glad I can go back and say the expert says this is false. Walk me through this here for a moment, because I want to take the time to understand about when a person does experience hair loss. Reversible, yes, no, maybe so.
It really depends on the type of hair loss that you're experiencing. So again, there are many types. The most common is male and female pattern hair loss, and this is definitely, it's manageable. So you can often or almost always maintain the density of hair that you have when you start treatment. And in some cases, depending on the treatment used, you can see some really good regrowth. It's important to know that treatment takes time. Hair only grows half an inch a month. Your hair also grows in different cycles. So it's going to take a minimum of 3 months, perhaps 6 months. Some people even see results closer to the year mark. With telogen effluvium, that is luckily, happily, completely reversible. It's about finding the cause, treating it, and then your hair will grow back as before. And the causes of that, they're really vast. It can be iron deficiency or a thyroid imbalance. It could be stress. It could be certain medications you're taking. So it's really important in those instances to have a really thorough blood test done to see what's going on.
Yeah. Well, we know in America, a lot of people deal with hypertension and the whole issue of stress. I want to unpack that for a moment about, because you did say stress is one of those causes for potentially having hair loss. Talk to us about stress and hair loss.
Okay, well, yes, stress is a big cause of hair loss. So whenever I explain about hair, I talk about how hair isn't an essential tissue. So psychologically, yes, it is definitely essential. How our hair looks and behaves can make or break our day. But from our body's perspective, it is a dispensable tissue. So if we were to lose all of our hair, we'd still be breathing, we'd still be upright. So it means it's a very sensitive barometer to general health, and anything that impacts our general health can impact our hair growth. Stress, as many people know, is really terrible for our general health. And in terms of hair growth, it can impact how we're eating. Potentially you are skipping meals or you're reaching for foods of little nutritional value, and this can really impact hair growth and cause hair loss. It can also trigger or flare up scalp conditions like dandruff, and we know flaking of the scalp can also increase daily hair fall, can disrupt sleep, again impact the hair growth cycle, and it can also have quite a profound effect on our hormone levels, which again can also cause hair loss. So it creates this kind of perfect storm for hair issues. So stress management is very important.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really recognize the impact that stress actually plays on, first of all, the body, and then after on the body, particularly, more particularly the hair. Let me ask this question.
Yeah.
And you can understand this because I'm asking for a friend. How do you care for your hair? I mean, a guy like me, I don't think I'm getting an afro anytime soon, but for those that do have hair, how do we care for it?
I guess you treat it with care. I always say, try to treat your hair like your favorite, cashmere sweater. Once hair is grown, it's technically dead tissue. So while hair can put up with quite a lot of wear and tear, there is a limit. So, if you nick your skin, it heals. But if you nick the hair once it's grown by using a harsh hairbrush or heat styling on a high heat too often, it can really create this accumulative damage and a lot of breakage. So really be gentle, use very gentle hairbrushes or combs. Be gentle when you're running your hands through your hair. Make sure you're cleansing your scalp, as frequently as you can, because your scalp is skin. And when it is clean and clear and healthy, it helps to support your best head of hair.
Yeah.
And I guess another thing to say is diet.
Oh, very important. Very important. We'll add that to we'll add that to the list. In introducing you, I told people that you're a trichologist. For somebody who may not be familiar with a trichologist, break it down for us.
So, trichology is the scientific study of the hair and scalp. So all we do day in, day out is look at people's hair and scalp and help them with any issues they're experiencing. So we see men and women experiencing hair loss, from genetic male and female pattern hair loss to telogen effluvium to traction alopecia, or so traction hair loss or scarring hair loss. And we also help people with varying scalp conditions like dandruff, psoriasis, and seborrheic dermatitis.
Holistic approaches, real quick. Holistic approaches that we can deal with hair loss.
Yes, so we take a very holistic approach. It's so important because your hair is so reflective of your overall well-being. So it's not just about the products that you're using, it's how you're treating your body. Are you eating well? You're eating a balanced diet, not skipping meals, getting in all the various vitamins and minerals that you need every day. Are you managing your stress levels, in your yearly well check? Are all the necessary blood tests being done to ensure that you aren't deficient in anything and therefore need to supplement? So a really good example of this is vitamin D deficiency, which is so incredibly common. And it's also a really common cause of hair loss. Every hair follicle on your scalp has a vitamin D receptor. So I normally suggest, even without a blood test, that people do take a daily vitamin D supplement.
All righty. Well, Anabel, we have to leave it there. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Some helpful information and certainly a lot that we can pass on to people in caring for their hair. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Lovely to speak to you.
All righty. Well, we want our viewers to know, if you want more information, don't hesitate to visit the website at philipkingsley.com. I want to let you know we come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, most of all you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch Recablecast right here. Optimum, Channel 67, Verizon Files, Channel 2133, or watch us anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. Of course, you get a brand new episode of Open on Friday. My girl, Rita Valentine, coming to you. Cafe con leche. Alrighty, this wraps up this episode for us. I am Daren Jaime saying take care. God bless. Make sure you keep this channel wide open. We'll see you soon.